Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. I know you guys are here for the Lotus, but we got a couple other things to talk about, and then we're going to finish up the Lotus and get it out the door. Let's get started. In previous videos, you guys have seen a couple of W123 300Ds. One of them is coming apart and losing its parts, and the other one is gaining those parts. It's actually on the lift, and Junior Mint's working on it. It's actually coming along very nicely. We got heat, we got AC, we got power locks, we got the engine shuts off right when you turn the key off. It is coming along very nicely. We'll do a video on that here pretty soon, an update, but it is getting really close to being roadworthy. I'm very happy with the results. And this old truck right here, we were going to do very many videos ago, we were going to do a Rolls-Royce engine swap into it. I just didn't have the heart to cut it up because it's in pretty good shape. It runs, it drives, the lights work, the gauges work, everything works. I've got the title in my name, and it is for sale. I'm going to be asking $3,500, and if you want to talk about the vehicle, you can get in contact with Crazy D in the office. You can go to OmegaAutoClinic.com. There's the contact info there. And he's going to be one selling this truck, not me. So you need to talk to him, not to me. Now let's head on over to the Lotus. That's what this video is about in the first place. So the Lotus is finally done. The 1995 Lotus Esprit Turbo S4S. We've got the head gasket taken care of, the clutch taken care of. The owner has resealed the transmission. We got it all back in. I've road tested it a few times. It is back in business, back on the road. Finally, after all this time, waiting on parts, waiting on this, waiting on that, it is finally done. We're going to actually have the owner, Bill, have a seat, socially distanced, of course. And we're going to talk about the story of him buying this car, some of the things he's been through to this point, and he's going to drive off. And hopefully he pays the bill first. But let me get Bill and let's get some seats set up. So it's finally done, Bill.
It's awesome, Dave. It's been a long time coming, about a year.
Yeah, it's been in here for a year. Every time we needed this or that, it was another wait for customs and wait for this.
It was. And it's only getting a lot worse with the Postal Service. I just ordered a few miscellaneous items that I wanted to change out on this car. I wanted to get a nice stainless steel coolant reservoir for it. And I've been waiting over a month, and it's basically just, once again, stuck in customs as they're quarantining anything coming in from the UK. So when it arrives is when it arrives. The Postal Service can't even tell me.
Yeah, you get a tracking number. It's like, it'll get there when it gets there.
Yeah.
That's all you know.
That's really the only downside I see with owning one of these is just, and it's a pretty big downside, it's the lack of availability of parts.
Right.
And having to wait just to track down the simplest of items.
Well, that just kind of reminds me, like on the water pump on this, you can't buy a water pump. You have to send it in and get it rebuilt. You have to wait for the shipping to get to where it's getting rebuilt, and then they have to actually do the job. Then you have more shipping time and going through customs again to get it back.
But hopefully it'll all be worth it now.
Yeah.
Because it does sound amazing.
It's back in business, ready to rock. Yeah. So, how long have you had this car?
About 10 years now.
10 years.
Yeah. And I've had every bit of it rebuilt from, well, the motor's been completely rebuilt from the ground up. And now it's got a head gasket has been redone in it, and multiple belt changes, and mechanically, the car is 100%, and thanks to you, Dave, it's now 100%. It's never at any one point in the last 10 years been 100% mechanically until now. So I am excited to get it back and have everything working in it the way that it should.
So what made you go after this car, a Lotus Esprit S4S?
Well, it was one of those things where it was a childhood dream that I had to have one. I saw this car in a couple of movies, and I had the big Lotus Esprit book. It's like kind of like a coffee table book that featured this car. I always thought it was amazing, and it really was quite amazing back in the 80s and the 90s to have a four-cylinder turbocharged engine that had this much power and this much performance that they were able to pull out of it. I thought that was amazing. So I specifically went after the best version arguably the best version of the four-cylinder. I'm sure a lot of Lotus guys are going to argue one way or another, but the S4S is arguably the best version of the Esprit in my opinion. Maybe a Sport 300 is probably better, but I don't know of any one that has one of those here in the United States. So S4S is the next best thing to that.
There was a few things that he mentioned that now the car's at 100%. That in a previous video that we did on this, we showed the heater valve and the cable had some issues. That was one of the things he'd been fighting with for a while. We finally got that solved. We also found out one of his little vacuum pump, the little electric vacuum pump in the back had died. We got that replaced, and it took care of his climate control issues.
You got that from Rock Auto.
From Rock Auto. Able to get something. Something came through fast, yeah.
Right. That was a GM part.
A GM part.
So quick.
Yeah. So those are a lot of little things that have been broken on here for a while and now are fixed and working. So we're really happy to get those last final things fixed for him. The story of this car has been getting things fixed constantly, hasn't it?
I'd say 50% of the time that I've owned it, the car has been broken down and in someone's shop somewhere waiting on parts. That's at least half the time I've owned it.
So if anybody's out there as an aspiring Lotus owner, no matter which model of Esprit, that's pretty much what they could look forward to. Is that what you would think? Or?
Obviously, it's going to depend on the condition of the car and how it was, treated previously. When I bought this Esprit, I didn't know a whole lot about it. It was in pretty sad shape when I got it, so I'm not that surprised that I've had as many problems as I have had with it. I've heard other Esprit owners have said they've never had any problems with their cars, so it just really kind of depends.
Yeah.
I think this car is probably going to be pretty darn reliable now, at least for a while. And everything in it's been refurbished and gone through by the wizard, and I'm really, really happy with the outcome. New suspension, new brakes, new clutch, new head gasket, new blue belt.
Transmission's resealed.
Ice cold air.
Yep.
I mean, it's got everything that it needs right now.
And heat. It can turn it to heat without having to.
I can turn it to heat without having to disassemble the fuse box.
Yep. Yeah. When you first bought it, what were some of the issues right offhand?
Well, I bought the car from a retired yacht captain out in Charleston. And of course, I had a pre-purchase inspection done on it, which I learned in this case really didn't do a whole lot of good, because by the time I drove it back from Charleston to Nebraska, halfway back it was making milkshakes as far as the engine goes. You pull the dipstick out and it was just covered in milkshake.
Oh wow.
So it had a blown engine from the get-go. I didn't really realize that at the time that the engine was blown, even though, I had the dirty dipstick. I thought, well, maybe, it just oil hadn't been changed in a while, but no, it was in bad shape. Engine was blown. It had leaky cylinder liner in one of the cylinders and needed to be resealed, and just a whole lot of, machine shop work and mechanicking on it to get it back to 100%. And that was 10 years ago. So.
I know, what was it, a couple years ago, we went on the pig trail in Arkansas, and this car was part of the group of cars that we were in, and there was a twin turbo Lambo, there was
did really well. It's probably
all kinds
finished off the head gasket.
Well, very likely, but when it was running, not very many cars could keep up with it. Yeah. That's what was amazing. It's a four-cylinder, and yet this whole rigmarole of cars that we had, different types of V8s and V6s, weren't able to keep up. It was pretty amazing.
Well, I know back in the 80s, Lotus, I haven't, here's my disclaimer, I haven't completely checked this out, but I have heard, it's been said that back in the 80s, the Lotus did have a Guinness Book of World Record of having the fastest four-cylinder production car in the world at the time, and that was the Lotus Esprit.
I wouldn't doubt it, with the way this thing performed.
Nowadays, four-cylinder cars, I mean, this thing will get smoked by, a Ford.
A Ford Focus or something.
Focus with
yeah.
a turbo on it will blow it away.
Technology has really come far, yeah.
It really has.
It definitely has. Definitely was one of the things working on it is definitely older technology as you take stuff apart on here, so.
It's very simple.
Very simple,
very
yeah.
Mechanical, yet very complex, because it's hard to work on something in such a confined space.
Right.
So I don't know how you did it. I get back there and
I did a timing belt without pulling the motor. Definitely is a tight engine compartment, especially on the front of the engine. There's like this far,
right?
Much room to work on it.
And no access panels at all.
Nope.
Nothing.
Not from the seats or in the interior or nothing. It's all from underneath, yeah.
Quite a bit of disassembly to get to anything.
It is.
And being a hand-built engine, I suppose that poses some interesting challenges because the quality of what went on here is basically based on whatever mood the builder was in that day.
Yeah, whatever they felt like during that day.
And people say, oh, hand-built quality, and I say, run. No hand-built.
Yeah, none of it was really hard. It was just time-consuming. If you see a certain part and you have to take off this and this and this to get to it, you just have to accept it and do it.
Yeah, I mean, a car like this, it's going to be a hobby. That's all there is to it. It's a hobby, and that's you just tell yourself, it's a hobby, and that's all it is. Then it can be fairly easy to live with at that point. But if you're trying to buy something like this and you want to have a reliable exotic to drive around or just a fast car to drive around, don't buy one of these. It's not going to work out. You're not going to get along with it.
As far as reliability, it'll never be a Honda Accord or something. No. I actually get questions. People call me, I'm getting ready to buy this or that or a Lotus, or is it a reliable car? It's like, really? You're asking that question?
Well, the newer ones, they have the Toyota motors.
Yeah, those are.
Those are all right.
They definitely are. Yeah, the Evoras.
But even those still have issues with fit and finish and
they do.
Leaks and rattles and squeaks and other issues that aren't engine related.
Yeah. I actually saw a really cool Lotus at Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance. It was a Lotus Evija.
Yeah, I think those are pretty cool too, Dave.
All electric.
I think what they have like 300 allocations and that was it, and they were all sold out.
I think electric cars of the future, there's things they can do with them now that they can't get there with gas motors.
Yeah. I think each of those Evijas was several $1 million a unit. So.
If I remember correctly, didn't you, Wizard, send Bill a picture of those while we were there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I did.
He did.
Just to rub it in that he's looking at the new ones.
It'd be a great car to own.
They definitely weren't letting people sit in it. That's for sure.
I was probably the only one they have that runs.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Well, I'm sure you're ready to take this on the road and take it home and enjoy the thing.
Yeah. I'll get home, maybe beat the rain.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to be in the rain and going high speeds in this thing.
But I got a couple more vehicles for you.
Oh, you got more?
I got a couple more vehicles for you.
Yeah, you were telling me that. You got several lined up.
Waiting in line, waiting to get this one back, and you'll be seeing those too.
That sounds good to me.
Got good hood shots.
Yeah, very strong. Well, I thought I'd finish up where I started, right here at the old 62 Chevy C30. Thanks for guys for following along. I'm glad to get that Lotus back on the road for Bill. He's very excited. He's already on his way home, enjoying the car. It took a long time to get all the parts and get the thing done, but finally we got it done. I'm very happy with that. And again, this thing is for sale. Contact Crazy D in the office. Check out OmegaAutoClinic.com. You can find all the contact information there. If you're curious what kind of tools I use in the shop, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. All my tools that I use are listed for sale there. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, I really recommend you do that now. A lot of really cool videos to come. Thanks for watching. The Evija.
Ah, the Evija.
So say that.
It's Evija. Evija?
Evija, or is it Evija?
It's Evija.
It's Evija?
Yeah. Supercar Blondie calls it an Evija.
An Evija?
Yeah.
All electric Lotus?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much those were, what, 2.1 million?
Yeah.